So, so how did a brownie recipe change my life? That is a fair question, and I'll tell you. As you regular viewers know, I like Aldi and their products. And one of the products I like a lot is the brownie mix you get at Aldi's. It's like $1.45 for a box of brownie mix. It's very simple to make. There's just a few ingredients. It takes almost no time. It's foolproof, and people tend to like it. It's not great, but it's brownies, and people eat it. So when I'd go to parties, not fancy parties, like, just so when I went to casual get-togethers where the standards were a little lower, I would whip up a box of brownies, maybe jazz it up by throwing some walnuts in there, and call it a day. And that was great. But then something happened that made me realize there are better options than Aldi brownies. The other night, it was poker night, and I was going to whip up a box of brownies like I always do because these guys really don't care. And I didn't have any brownie mix, and I was like, what am I going to do? I'm not driving all the way to Aldi just for a box of brownie mix. There has to be a way to make brownies. Brownies must have existed in the dark days before Aldi came about. So I looked and I found this recipe, and it's so much better, and it's not much harder. There's absolutely no reason not to make brownies in the manner that I'm about to show you. So let's get started. So with our Aldi brownies, it's super easy. You crack 2 eggs in, and you pour some oil in and mix it together with that bag of magic powder that the Aldi scientists devised to make our brains happy. With this recipe, you have to plan a little bit ahead. You need 2 eggs at room temperature, and you need some melted butter. So you're saying, Tom, I'm an American. My eggs are in the refrigerator and they're not at room temperature. 2 things you can do. Either take them out of the refrigerator an hour ahead of time. You don't want to leave them out too long or you'll get salmonella, but an hour and let them warm up, that's good. Or if you don't want to wait that long, there's another strategy. You get yourself a measuring cup full of water, and you heat this water up to about 100 degrees, and then you put your 2 eggs in the water for about 10 minutes, and you're good to go. Now, you're probably saying, why do my eggs really have to be at room temperature? Does it matter? And it does matter. It matters mostly because if you have melted butter and then you crack cold eggs into it, then the butter solidifies and you've sabotaged yourself. But also, room temperature eggs, they can fluff up better. And you don't really want to be baking and then introduce something cold because it can kind of screw things up. So just heat the eggs up. Here, I'll show you. Here's my awkwardly positioned microwave. There's a whole story behind why I have it in here. Anyways, you can imagine you put your water in there and cook it for about a minute. You don't want it to be too hot, about 100 degrees. All right, let's check this out. I mean, we're shooting for 100, but I think it'll be fine at 107. So we'll put these eggs in here for a couple minutes, actually for 10 minutes. Let's move on to melting this butter. So it's pretty much melted. I could probably use it now because I did take it out of the refrigerator a while ago. Let's say that you had a cold stick of butter. It's all the same. Let me show you a trick. Okay, so what you don't want to do is put your butter in the microwave. If you put your butter in the microwave, it's going to heat up unevenly and explode on you. A much better way to do it is to get your stick of butter. And like I said, this is mostly melted, so I don't really have to do this, but I'm doing it for demonstration purposes. Cut it into pieces. So if your butter was frozen, you would probably have a much harder time cutting it, but whatever. And now that's in smaller pieces, throw it in a bowl, and then put this bowl in your toaster oven. Let me show you. So you want to melt it, but not too fast. So throw it in your toaster oven, and then choose the keep warm setting. And that'll heat it up, nicely and melt it down for you. I mean, we got time. These eggs are going to take 10 minutes, and I don't know how long it's been so far, but probably 5 more minutes. So while we're waiting, let's get the other ingredients out. Let's talk about what goes into our brownies. As we mentioned, there's a stick of butter, our 2 eggs, 1 cup of granulated sugar. So now you're starting to see why our brownies are so delicious. A cup of sugar and a stick of butter will take you far. 1/2 cup of flour, 1/3 of a cup of baking cocoa, a teaspoon of vanilla. Apparently I need more vanilla. There's always a teaspoon of vanilla no matter what you're making. And a 1/4 teaspoon of baking powder and a 1/4 teaspoon of salt. And the secret ingredient is this espresso baking powder. It's not like a leavener, it's just really enhances the chocolatey flavor. So I don't know where you get this. I had to order it from Amazon, maybe in one of those fancy stores that I don't have money to go into. But yeah, this is like makes all the difference. All right, let's get our melted butter. Remember, it's hot, so don't reach in there and grab it with your bare hand or you'll be sad. All right, let's get started. Let's start with the butter and, of course, a cup of sugar. Let's mix that together real quick. Now I'm going to sift in half a cup of flour, a third of a cup of that cocoa, and a quarter teaspoon of the baking powder. And that's really the most important thing to sift in, because you don't want anyone to get like a chunk of baking powder because that tastes absolutely horrible. So make sure to sift that really good. Let's also put in a quarter teaspoon of salt. So yeah, the batter's kind of thick, actually. Now, I didn't forget our special ingredient, the espresso powder. So let's throw that in, 1 teaspoon. I did forget to mention one thing. For bonus points, you can throw in half a cup of semi-sweet morsels. And, you know, splurge for the real chocolate. Totally worth it. So I'm going to throw in half a cup. And all you want to do is grab your spatula and like fold those in. Plus it gives you an opportunity to use your spatula to scrape up along the sides and stuff. So this is kind of a thick batter, but that's correct. That's what it should look like. Now let's get an 8x8 pan. And this is a trick my wife taught me. Remember that greasy butter wrapper we had? You can actually use that to grease the pan. If you didn't have a greasy butter wrapper, you could use, you know, whatever you wanted to grease the pan, like butter or Crisco or some sort of vegetable spray. I've preheated our toaster oven to 350. Transfer the batter into this. You can see that it didn't really spread out, so just shake it around until it works itself out. We're going to cook this for 20 minutes, and you don't want to overcook it. In fact, when you test it with your knife, you know, it's okay if there's like a tiny bit of like, you know, still goopiness to it, because as it cools down, it will cook all the way through. But you don't want to overcook it. That'd be bad. So let's throw it in for 20 minutes. And we'll check back then. We got 20 minutes. We might as well straighten up the kitchen. So let's go. Okay, it's been 20 minutes. Let's check it out. Let's give it the test here. I would expect a little bit of goop, but that's okay if there's not. I don't think we overcooked it. But let's let it cool off and then we'll give it the taste test. All right, let's slice this up. It's got that gooey, you know, it's not the dry brownie stuff. It's the gooey, yummy brownie stuff.